Crappies can, of course, be caught 12 months of the year and not just on open water. They're also a popular target across the north during winter as anglers fish for them through ice cover. Certainly, though, the pinnacle of the fishing for North America's favorite panfish is during spring, as both black and white crappies are drawn shallower first to feed and then to spawn. A quick hopscotch across North America illustrates the south to north progression of the spawn. It begins in Florida, where crappies may be spawning in January, although February is a more likely month. Meanwhile, on Sam Rayburn Reservoir in Texas, pre-spawn fish are pushing shallow by mid-March most years. A late March time frame works for fish on reservoirs like Millwood in Arkansas and Mississippi River Delta lakes like Eagle Lake and Lake Washington in Mississippi. Just a bit later in March and early April, famous Mississippi flood control reservoirs like Grenada and Enid kick into action, while the same thing usually is happening by mid-March on Kentucky Lake. And so it goes as we travel farther north, ending with pre-spawn fish pushing shallow as early as mid-May in central Minnesota, although spawning activity usually extends well into June. June also is prime for shallow fish around Kenora in northwest Ontario, thus ending a 5-month-long spawning progression. Fishing for crappies in Florida predictably transpires around shallow vegetation. Could be rushes, other times it's lily pads. Anglers keep it simple, pitching jigs or fishing jigs under a float.
So this is the kind of the seasonal pattern here at Toho?
Yes, sir. The crappie are starting to move into their spawning areas. The males are coming into lily pads to compete for spawning area, and they'll spawn around the roots. Typically, this is that time of year when most people like to catch them. It's nice and cool, the weather's nice. You can't beat Florida this time of year.
It's kind of a neat technique. A lot of fun. You know, back home we do a lot of casting with this with a long pole, and you're absolutely just vertical fishing in these little open pockets among the lily pads.
Yes, sir. What we try to do is either use a jig and tip it with a minnow or tip it with some type of grub body, and we just jig it in the lily pads, and the males are usually competing for area, so anything that drops in front of them, just like a bass, will just gobble it up.
All right. There we go. Nice work. Oh, nice crappie too. Nice big old crappie.
Come on.
Oh, easy. Had to catch him twice, my friend.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there you're talking. That's another big boy. Wow. That is awesome.
In Texas, fish also push into shallow weed growths or use flooded timber and brush. On lakes with cypress, as on Millwood, no surprise, fish gather near that cover, often in water no more than a foot or two deep. Of course, the fishing isn't just for spawning fish, but also for pre-spawn fish, which typically hold in deeper water just outside of spawning areas. On Mississippi Delta lakes, long line trolling with jigs is one commonly productive approach.
Well, I start out with a 9-foot pole, move it out to a 12, 16, and 18-foot poles. We're looking for line separation, and also we're covering a wide path of water as we're trolling.
So you've got in this system, you've got 2 jig heads on there. Well, basically we're in 10 feet of water and you want these jigs to be about 7-8 feet down.
Correct. These are where the fish are suspended at right now.
Okay, and so what happens is no matter which pole they bite on, the fish comes to the surface, folds back in, and comes right up the middle is where you're going to land them each time. So it's a simple, straightforward system.
Across the South, though, spider rigging is by far the presentation method of choice. Multiple rods spread lines and lures across a wide swath of water to find fish typically holding no deeper than about 8 feet. It's one of the most consistently productive approaches in all of fishing.
What we're basically doing here is we're up here on the east end of the lake. All the fish is getting ready to spawn. They're making a big push to the shallows here. And we're basically just fishing along the river channel right up here on the side of it in 2 or 3 foot of water, and we're spider rigging with 16 and 14-foot poles. And the water's so shallow and there's so many stumps in this area that it'd be hard to double minnow rig through these stumps. So all we're doing is we're taking a 1/4 ounce jig head with a jig and tipping it with a minnow, and we're just pushing it real slow through here. And those females that are sitting on these stumps and sitting on the stumps under the water that you can't see, they're just hopping it.
When the water's up, spawning fish move right into cover. Anglers can wade right in using single poles to extract fish, while others continue to spider rig now in water only a foot or two deep. Farther north, the fishing for shallow crappies often is a visual affair. Pre-spawn and spawning fish often move into hard stem rushes. Anglers spot fish and pitch jigs to them or dabble lures with longer rods. It's exciting and satisfying fishing.
Last time I fished this lake, I got lots like this. Get them out there. Beautiful fish, huh? And, you know, I've got plenty in the cooler already. These are the kind where we kind of practice selective harvest. The big guys, probably be 13-incher right there. We'll probably let them go. So back we go, and I'll show you what I've got for a snack tonight.
North or south, the spring spawning progression offers some of the finest fishing of the season. Great sport that produces high fives and exceptional fish fries after the fact.
Some beautiful crappies. I love to eat crappies. Solid pattern with the reed beds here that you can put into play for almost a month. Most people don't start early enough when the water temperatures get into the 50s. This is great. You're seeing fish, you're flipping to them. That's exciting fishing in my ballpark. And you can end the day with a selective harvest of a variety of panfish that are going to be great on the table. Wow, I love it.
This segment brought to you by Abu Garcia.